Saints training camp practice number 9. Look, Ricardo and I have been in the sun every day. We decided to do this sitting down in the Saints media room, which is where Cam Jordan got his new contract, where they did that press conference where all of the Saints interviews were done on this Saturday. That's Ricardo Lecompte. I'm Doug Mouton. Practice number 9, and the Saints theme now is to start inside, do a good, even the first 7-on-7 drill they're doing inside, and then taking it outside for the last hour. It was a little more than an hour today. They went outside. It was ridiculously hot. Look, my first observation from today is I thought Derek Carr looked terrific today. On schedule is the term we keep using. Because look, you watch the difference between he and Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is not on schedule. You can see him shuffling a lot, not making quick decisions. Derek Carr is getting in, getting it out, making a lot of good decisions and a lot of good throws today.
Yeah, and remember when Derek Carr was asked, where are you at in terms of learning this offense? And he says, I've got a good grasp of the playbook. Now it's just understanding those relationships with the receivers and kind of connect with those. And he looked good, especially inside when they did the 7-on-7 drills. He threw 4 touchdowns, was perfect in those drills. He gets about 6 or 7 passes, usually in that first part of 7-on-7 drills. And he looks sharp. And again, you were talking about being on schedule. He makes a decision, makes a throw, and is pretty much effective. And that's kind of, you're hoping when it kind of translates over. I know this is just practice, but you practice kind of things so you develop these good habits. And certainly if they can execute like that in the red zone, that was one of the issues they had this offense last season. If they get better production in the red zone, particularly scoring touchdowns, then that's a good sign for this offense.
Yeah, and Foster Moreau had a couple of plays in the red zone. He is a big addition that can help in that area. Look, I thought Chris Olave had a terrific practice, which is not unusual or different, and you almost forget about him because he's so consistently good. And then the guy who flashed, and look, Dennis Allen doesn't mention a lot of guys by name. Now, if you ask him about a guy, he'll bring it up. But today he was asked about practice, and without being asked, he brought up Lucas Kroll, a tight end, as a guy who had a great practice. Look, Kroll is a great story. He's, first of all, huge and very athletic. He was a former draft pick of the San Francisco Giants as a left-handed pitcher, started college at Arkansas as a left-handed pitcher, wound up at junior college, wound up at Florida to play tight end, then wound up with the Pitt Panthers to play tight end, which is where he was terrific. Although through all of that, he wound up undrafted, but he's got a lot of raw ability. The tight end room is stacked, but I like Lucas Kroll. Give me somebody who stood out for you today.
Yeah, and back to that kind of Lucas Kroll thing, I think when we're seeing the development of it, certainly he's a good athlete playing tight end, and the pass catching is there, and you can see that in some of those drills. It's learning those routes and getting better at that, and he's such a big, imposing tight end that you think naturally he'll be good as a run blocker as well. And certainly when you're kind of looking, again, we were looking at the tight end position, and you already got Juwan Johnson, you got Foster Moreau. If you get Lucas Kroll in there along with the Jimmy Graham, that's maybe your 4 tight ends that you're kind of working with right now. But that's kind of where Lucas Kroll plays in that. And you're right. When he mentions somebody by name, Dennis Allen, without being prompted, then that's a good sign. My kind of impression overall of this practice is, I think, the injuries. I think we're at that kind of point at camp where this is practice number 9, and now you're starting to see those soft tissue injuries. We had 2 guys defensively who sat out. Brian Brzee and Demario Davis both had calf injuries, but Dennis Allen said they weren't too serious. 2 wide receivers, Rashid Shaheed and Traquan Smith, both are dealing with groin injuries, another soft tissue injury they have to deal with. And then, of course, the big injury that happened today with Eno Benjamin, who Dennis Allen said afterwards ruptured his Achilles, and it happened during individual drills while we were inside watching and doing that open part of practice where we could actually shoot. You could see that was kind of a tough one in terms of just that running back room depth that you want to have, because certainly Eno Benjamin was in the running for that 4th running back spot if you're kind of slotting it with Alvin Kamara, Kendra Miller, the rookie, and Jamal Williams. Where's that 4th running back? Because they're going to have to need to carry one. I think with Eno down, maybe this is a spot where Kirk Merritt could possibly step in and also take that 4th running back spot now without Eno Benjamin. Certainly, I expect the Saints also to go find and pick up a running back here in a couple of days to kind of fill that roster spot. But to me, we're at that point in camp again where these injuries are going to start piling up, and it's now going to see how this team can kind of navigate that before that first preseason game.
Yeah, and Kendra Miller did take a shot to the jaw, went down for a little while. He did come back in practice, so he should be okay. And the 2 wide receiver injuries, Dennis Allen gave no indication whether that's Rashid Shaheed and Traquan Smith, whether they were serious or not serious. They left practice, did not return. Look, the running back room is interesting because Alvin Kamara's out the first 3 games. You're going to see a heavy dose of Jamal Williams. You hope Kendra Miller is ready to produce, but you're definitely going to need a 3rd guy there. Now, me personally, and this was one of the debates that the reporters have on the sideline, line, who was going to be the third guy when Kamara's out, whether it's Eno Benjamin. I think Kirk Merritt was doing better and doing more things than Eno Benjamin anyway. I think this does clear the way for the young man from Destrehan to make the 53-man roster. I think that's great for him because I think he can help in multiple ways. He can help as a kick returner if you need him to. I think the theme today too, and Ricardo, you asked Dennis Allen about this today. Look, when you practice red zone, it is hard to not be physical. Practice was hot. They did an extra half hour outside, and it got messy near the goal line.
Yeah, that heat certainly played a factor, and you could just see how rough and physical it was. And when I asked Dennis Allen, was that kind of the theme of practice? And he's like, well, when you're in red zone, there's going to be collisions.
Yeah.
And certainly we were seeing that multiple times. And like I said, when we mentioned about Kirk Merritt, there was a guy who scored a couple of times in red zone opportunities, Jamal Williams as well. But these are parts of the camp where you don't get, especially with the new CBA and everything else, you don't get many opportunities to really be physical and have that physicality at defense.
You're
putting on the pads, you're having tough weather, it's just a grind. And even though Dennis Allen would have said it, from just observing from what we saw, it was one of those, hey, this is the mental physical tough day. How do you respond in this day, and then how do you carry over tomorrow to kind of pick up and keep that consistency of practice? So Sunday will be interesting in terms of, you had such a rough Saturday practice in terms of how physical it was. How do you respond and how do you practice on Sunday? So this may be one of those kind of mind game early tests that we see in training camp.
And the last thing I want to say before we wrap this up is that Dennis Allen was asked multiple times about Alvin Kamara's suspension, and I think the takeaway from what Dennis Allen said is he believes the 3 games is a good result for the team. We said that yesterday. Dennis Allen also believes, you could tell by the way he said it, he thought it could have been worse. The Saints, Alvin Kamara gets 3 games. That was about the minimum you could have hoped for, and the Saints got the minimum, so that's good news. Now, a week from tomorrow is preseason game number 1, but it's a long grind to get there. The Saints are back on the practice field Sunday morning, and don't forget, 4th down on 4 tomorrow night at 10 as we continue to break down all of Saints training camp. For Ricardo Lecompte, I'm Doug Mouton. That's a look at Saints training camp practice number 9 from Metairie.